1923 Season 2 Episode 6 Ending explained. Everyone who dies and who killed them. Warning: this article contains spoilers for 1923 Season 2, Episode 6. The penultimate episode of 1923 Season 2 had a huge number of bombshell developments and incredibly important character deaths, and they're definitely worth going into more detail. 1923 Season 2, Episode 6 rocked the entire cast of 1923, and it significantly thinned the number of characters to remember going into the season finale. Even before 1923's War for the Yellowstone begins, several characters met their untimely demise, including one major member of the Dutton family tree. It was a whirlwind of death and violence, and the episode's ending may need an explanation. After putting off several different conflicts for the majority of the season, 1923 Season 2, Episode 6 finally saw some characters confront one another in spectacular fashion. Father Renaud and Tina Rainwater finally settled their score, for example, while Jack Dutton met his shocking end. The road to Montana also had yet another tragedy in store for Alexandra, and everyone is still anxiously awaiting Spencer's return. A lot happened in the build-up to 1923 Season 2's finale. The cliffhanger ending of 1923 Season 2, Episode 5 was very quickly resolved this week. In the previous episode, Pete Plenty Clouds and Marshall Kent had a shootout, but 1923 cut to black as the bullets started to fly. As suspected, Pete Plenty Clouds died by Marshall Kent's hand in 1923 Season 2, Episode 6. Kent told Father Renaud that he could tell Pete was a crow man, and that he killed him because he ran. Tina Rainwater and Runs His Horse eventually found Pete's body. The most surprising part of the shootout, however, was what happened after it. Father Renaud and Kent have been drifting apart ever since Kent trampled a Comanche boy with his horse, and that falling out finally came to a head. Renaud told Kent that he was walking the pathway to perdition, and after Kent cursed at the priest, Renaud shot him dead. In Renaud's twisted sense of morality and faith, he likely thought ridding the earth of a bigoted murderer like Marshall Kent justified killing him. He even told Kent to scream with the devil after executing him. Donald Whitfield has been training Lindy in the ways of sexual sadism all season long, and 1923 Season 2 finally explained what it has all been about. In a continuation of Whitfield's controversial storyline, Lindy hired a new sex worker, Mabel, and began abusing her as well. This time, however, Whitfield explained to Banner Creighton that he was training Lindy to begin relationships with politicians and use sex to manipulate them. This entire time, Whitfield has just been trying to further his own business goals, and Christie was tortured to death because of it. It seems that Whitfield won't be content with just owning the Yellowstone Ranch and turning it into a ski resort. His ambitions are much higher than that. Whitfield is likely training Lindy because he wants to have the entire state of Montana in his pocket, and the Yellowstone is just the first part of a long-term plan. At this point, just about the only thing standing between Whitfield and achieving that goal is Spencer Dutton. Another massive, and quite unexpected, death happened later on in 1923 Season 2, Episode 6. Jacob had told Jack Dutton to stay at the lodge and guard the women, but the headstrong young man wouldn't listen. He decided to ride to the train station by himself to join Jacob and help defend Spencer. But on the way there, he ran into Clyde and Alec. Once they got Jack out of the woods, Clyde shot Jack dead and hid his body. As Clyde mentioned, he was just getting a head start on killing Duttons. There are a few important things to remember about Jack's untimely death in 1923. Clyde was hired as an officer of the Livestock Association, which is why Jack trusted him enough to holster his gun. What Jack didn't know, however, is that Clyde has been working for Banner Creighton and Donald Whitfield since 1923 Season 1. He was actually the person who told the authorities about Zane and Alice Davis and had them arrested. Additionally, Jack has always been a headstrong and impulsive man, and those faults finally caught up with him. Though Father Renaud killed Marshal Kent, he wasn't done hunting down Tiona and runs his horse. After they found Pete and Kent's bodies, Runs his horse thought that he and Tiona were safe from danger, and finally decided to light a fire in the night. Unfortunately, that decision led Renaud right to them, and he ambushed them in their sleep, shooting Runs his horse dead. With her father dead, Renaud had all the time in the world to force Tiona to repent for her sins and seek salvation before shooting her too.